P-Town Throwdown. I'm Kayla Franson. Today we're with Emma Weiser.
Hello.
We're going to be playing a game with her, and Hannah will also be sitting down with her to interview her on her photography. Are you ready for the game?
Yes.
Are you ready? Doing it matching like ancient photos of like sports equipment with like the sport, and then some of them has like certain questions of like what it's used for. Now, can you figure out what that is?
Guess a hockey stick.
Do the hockey stick. Next one. Can you guess what that one is?
A helmet.
A leather football helmet. You're close to the helmet part. Now, socks or gloves?
Gloves.
Good choice. Now, what type of goal do you think this goes in?
Maybe soccer? Like a soccer goal?
Yep, you're right. Leather soccer ball. And what position players do you think wear this?
Ice hockey goalie. Okay.
Baseball catcher. It was close. Same fun area. Now, do you think this is for a high jump or a hurdle?
Hurdle.
Track and field, high jump ball. Now, what court is this ball used on?
Basketball? Court.
Volleyball. Now, do you think this is a horror mask or sports equipment?
Sports equipment.
Hockey goalie mask, correct. Now, the OG American sport.
That's for Native American lacrosse.
Correct. That's a good one. I would never guess that. So this is the last question. Who do you think would throw this?
Discus for track and field.
Correct. Now, thank you for playing the game with us. Are you ready for an interview?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. Woo!
Thank you, Kayla, for the game show. Emma, what did you think of it?
It was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, I'm Hannah Weisinger. Welcome back to P-Town Throwdown. Before we get into the interview, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow our Twitter to stay updated with any sports news. So, Emma, thank you so much for coming on today. How are you doing?
I'm good. How about you?
Good, thank you. So, I noticed you're wearing a Primus volleyball sweatshirt. So, my first question for you is, how did you get into volleyball and what's your background with it?
So my parents met through volleyball, so they've always encouraged me to try out. And my freshman year, I tried out for the team, I made it, and then I kind of fell in love with the sport and continued to play out of the season. I do club and also I'm part of the high school team.
Wow, that's great. So what would you say is like your favorite volleyball memory here at Primus over your last 4 years?
Key memory is definitely this year. My senior year, we played against Northern Highlands on their senior night, and we wound up beating them, and I think it was a big upset for them, but we all enjoyed it.
Awesome. So are you planning on playing volleyball in college?
I hope to. If I can, I may try walk-on. I do love the sport and would love to continue playing.
That's great. So I know that you do winter and spring track. So I was wondering how did you start in that sport, and do you enjoy it?
So I've always been athletic and I wanted to kind of stay in shape for volleyball, so I tried out my sophomore year for spring, and unfortunately with COVID it ended really quickly, but then next year I tried again and I wound up falling in love with javelin, as well as I did stay in shape with doing distance running, so I continued doing it and I really liked it.
So do you do any other throwing events, or is jav like the only one that you do?
So this past winter I tried out shot put, and I'm also doing discus this year for spring, so I'm doing all 3 throwing events.
Oh wow, that's really cool. So I noticed that you also are part of other activities at the high school, which is photography. So some of the questions I have for that is, when did you get into photography? When did you start taking photos?
So I've always enjoyed doing it on my free time. It really developed when I joined the volleyball team, kind of just to learn how to take photos. I borrow the school's cameras. They have access to really great opportunities, and while the game's off, I would take pictures of varsity, and every game I got better, and then eventually I got to take AP photography, and my teacher taught me a lot about the different skills and within that, and I just enjoyed experimenting with different techniques and possibilities with photography.
Nice. So would you say sports photos are your favorite to take of, or do you have other photos that you like to take?
No, definitely sports is my favorite. I like capturing like specific moments. It not only does it help the athlete see like maybe something that they need to fix, but it's also great captures moments in time where like it was really special to the athlete.
Yeah, so I know you take photos for track, but are there any other sports you take photos for?
Yeah, so last year I was able to take a lot of the sports. I mainly focus on girls, but I also did boys basketball, I did a tennis team, I've done lacrosse, wrestling, and obviously volleyball too.
Yeah, well, thank you, Emma, so much for coming on today. And also, before we wrap this up, I want to remind you all that Bagel Supreme is currently our sponsor for P-Town Throwdown, so definitely make sure to check them out right here on Farview Ave in Paramus. And in addition to that, we have a certificate to give you for Bagel Supreme. So here's Gianna with your certificate for Bagel Supreme, and you can get 3 bagels with that, so. So before we wrap this up, Emma, I heard that you have to submit a portfolio for AP Photo, so I was wondering if you want to tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I got into this because I do enjoy like taking action sports pictures, and I think in the media, women in sports are often overlooked. So I want to showcase different female athletes within our school, as well as showing both the physical and the mental state of a female. So the question is like, I want you to look at my photos and be like, how strong are you really? So this could be within females breaking stereotypes of how they're supposed to dress, or like female athletes of how strong they really are and how to portray them within the photos.
Yeah, that's great.
So these 2 pictures, the left picture is of Izzy Bido, and she is the setter, or one of the setters on the volleyball team. And then on the right, that's Caroline, and she is one of the captains of the soccer team. These 3 pictures are different action shots of different sports. My goal is to get every female athlete and do a panoramic of all of them together. There's Izzy and Caroline again, and on the right that's Ashley Normandia, and she plays basketball. So this is Isabella. She does MMA, and I want to get her in action since MMA is often not overlooked because it's not a high school typical sport. Here is a transition between all 3 pictures of Ashley passing the ball between herself. And then this is Sabrina. She's one of the captains of the cheerleading team, and this is just her wearing a varsity jacket on like a typical day at school. This is one of the coaches for pole vaulting, and I made this picture through Photoshop. I took multiple pictures as she was going to take a jump.
I was going to say, these are really impressive. Does it take a while to make these?
Yeah, definitely. It was a little tricky figuring out like the placement of them and masking out the background so that it looked as if there's no transition between the pictures.
That's really cool.
These are some off-the-court pictures of athletes. On the left picture, that's Amalia and Mary. They're the captains of the volleyball team. This is Bella. She's, I think, someone that represents someone that's both physically and mentally strong within her like own body, and how she's just like looking at herself and showing like how like beautiful athletes can be, as well as like within their mind and mentality. So this is Izzy again. This is like kind of off the court in a normal outfit where she's obviously, you can see her sweatshirt. She's wearing Capitol Hill sweatshirt, so that's her playing on a club team where she went to a tournament, and just like kind of her other activities outside of the school. Here's her again. She's very into her, she's a sneaker lover, so I tried to exemplify that within the pictures. And then here's some action shots. So this is, I did tennis. And then here's cheerleading at one of their competitions. And then I did some studio stuff, so this is my volleyball uniform. This is like my experimental, so I want to play with using a projector and also just kind of showing words within the images. So here's some like quotes that I think really represent as an athlete. Izzy again, just playing with, showing that athletes usually go to the gym to prepare, and I think it's a big part of being an athlete. So there's just like shots of like what would happen, or like as an athlete going to the gym. Here you can see the Paramus Spartans logo at our gym here, and how we can really prepare ourselves for our season. Here she's, right now, she won state. Here's a wrestling match. So this is my last picture of my portfolio, and this is Shannon. She's also one of the other captains on the soccer team.
Wow, I mean, these are great photos, and the message that you're trying to bring, I think, is awesome. And I think P-Town would love to take that further and include a bunch of female athletes together. I think it's really cool. So thank you so much again for coming on today, and thank you all so much for watching.